My phone buzzed, a silent tremor against the polished mahogany of my desk, and I froze, staring at the anonymous message that lit up the screen, screenshots of a group chat, never meant for my eyes, spilled out like a confession my step-siblings, Mason and Delia Barrett, plotting a secret meeting to seal a deal with my company. Cloud Ridge Systems, she's not one of us. Delia had typed, her words sharp as a blade. She'd derail it. Mason added, dismissing me as irrelevant. I leaned back in my chair, the San Francisco skyline glittering beyond my office window, and let the irony curl my lips. They had no idea I was E. Harper, the enigmatic CEO of Cloud Ridge, the one who held their future in my hands. The message came from someone loyal, perhaps Mason's assistant. Still stung by how the Barretts treated me, the chat detailed a 3P and me meeting tomorrow in Boardroom 3B to finalize the Cloud Ridge acquisition, a deal they thought would save their crumbling empire. Should we loop in? Evelyn Delia had asked. Mason's reply was a scoff. Why, she's a nobody. My fingers tightened around the phone, the glass cool against my palm. At 25, I'd built one of the West Coast's fastest-growing software-as-a-service companies, a tech juggernaut that had the industry buzzing. The press called me a mystery. Investors called me a visionary. But my stepfamily, they still saw the awkward teenager they'd pushed aside. I set the phone down, the screenshots burning in my mind. 9 years ago, my father's remarriage to Angela Barrett, a finance titan with a smile like frost, had brought Mason and Delia into my life. They were older, polished, dripping with Ivy League arrogance, while I was the spare, the charity case. Angela had absorbed my father's small consulting firm after his death, shutting me out. Now, as I sat at the helm of Cloud Ridge Systems, majority shareholder and silent architect of their downfall, their words felt like fuel. Tomorrow, they'd meet to impress a stranger. Instead, they'd face their boss. The memory of that first slight still stings, sharp as the San Francisco fog that clung to my skin at 16. My father, a man of quiet dreams, had just married Angela Barrett, a finance executive whose presence filled rooms like a storm. With her came Mason and Delia, both in their early 20s, already basking in the glow of elite internships and trust funds. I was the odd piece, the stepdaughter who didn't fit their gilded puzzle. Angela once caught me tinkering with an app on my laptop and said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "You'd make a fine receptionist." Evelyn, it was a dismissal dressed as kindness, but it lit a fire in me. While Mason networked at hedge funds and Delia jetted to Aspen for leadership retreats, I poured my nights into online coding boot camps, my days into bartending to pay for them. By 17, I was building apps, small but clever, each one a step towards something bigger. My father cheered me on, his eyes bright with pride when I showed him my first program, a tool to track small business expenses. Success isn't inherited, Evelyn, he'd said, his voice warm. It's built. But he died of a stroke when I was 18, leaving me with memories and a stepmother eager to erase them. Angela folded his modest consulting firm into Barrett Enterprises, her sprawling empire, and told me, "You're grown now. Find your own path." So I did, with grit and code. While Mason and Delia coasted on privilege, at 19, I pitched an idea to Barrett Enterprises' employee equity plans to boost morale and retention. I stood in their sleek boardroom, heart pounding, only to be laughed out by Delia's smirk and Mason's eye roll. "Stick to your little apps," Delia said. Humiliation burned, but it sharpened my resolve. 2 months later, I launched Cloud Ridge Systems from a cramped apartment, fueled by a vision of tech that valued people, not just profits. Within a year, we'd snagged the Barrett Pharmaceuticals contract, a coup that left Angela's team scrambling. By 22, Cloud Ridge was their fiercest rival, our cloud-based platforms outpacing their outdated systems. Now, I held the reins of a company that had reshaped the industry, Barrett Enterprises. once a titan, was faltering public scandals, lost clients, evaluation in freefall. They're bored, desperate. Saw Cloud Ridge's buyout offer as a lifeline, unaware that I, Evelyn Harper, was behind it. I'd worked in shadows, using intermediaries and the E, Harper's pseudonym to shield my identity. The Barretts never questioned it. Seduced by a Forbes profile we'd planted, painting E, Harper as a grizzled tech mogul, they thought they were bargaining with power. They were about to lose it. My father's words echoed as I built Cloud Ridge resilience over inheritance. Every late night, every line of code, every deal I closed was a rebuttal to Angela's disdain, to Mason and Delia's mockery. I didn't just want success, I wanted to prove that merit could topple entitlement. The buyout wasn't revenge, it was justice. A chance to rewrite their legacy into something meaningful. Tomorrow's meeting wasn't just a deal. It was the moment I'd step out of the shadows. Not as the girl they dismissed, but as the woman who'd outbuilt them all. The San Francisco dawn painted my office in gold. But my focus was on the calendar alert blinking on my laptop, Barrett Enterprises board meeting. 3:00 p.m. I'd scheduled it weeks ago. Knowing Mason and Delia had claimed that exact slot for their clandestine Cloud Ridge discussion, their smug plan to woo a faceless mogul was my opening to unravel their world. I leaned forward, scanning the latest financials on Barrett Enterprises' $500 million in losses, clients fleeing to competitors, a board grasping for survival, my buyout offer, a lifeline at $2, $4 billion, had them hooked, blind to the truth that I, Harper, was their savior and their reckoning. Every move had been calculated. I'd cloaked my identity with intermediaries, letting the Barretts believe Harper was a Silicon Valley veteran, a myth bolstered by a carefully seeded Forbes article. They'd eaten it up, picturing a silver-haired tycoon, not the stepdaughter they'd scorned, my assistant. Elena tapped her headset. Legals prepped. Miss Harper. The board's ready to sign. Mason and Delia still think you're a recluse. I smirked, glancing at a photo in my desk drawer, my father and me, windswept on a Marin Headlands hike. His belief in building from nothing anchored me. Good, I said. Ensure the boardroom cameras rolling. I want their faces captured. The Barretts' empire was a house of cards, weakened by Angela's obsession with image over substance. Their scandals, price gouging, labor disputes had eroded trust, leaving them vulnerable. Cloud Ridge's offer seemed like divine intervention, but I'd engineered it, quietly acquiring their debt and swaying investors. The board, Angela included, had already endorsed the deal. Unaware of my hand, I adjusted my suit, the fabric crisp against my skin, and stood. Today wasn't just a transaction, it was a stage. Mason and Delia thought they'd dazzle a partner. They'd meet the architect of their downfall instead. I tapped my laptop. Opening the live feed from Boardroom 3B, Mason scrolled his phone, smirking as he showed Delia something likely my planted resume, bait to expose their disdain. Their laughter echoed through the feed, hollow and predictable. I checked the clock, 2:20 p.m. Elena. I said into my mic, tell them the meeting starts early. Announce me as Miss Harper. The pieces were aligned, each step a note in a symphony I'd composed. My father's voice whispered, resilience defines legacy. Today, I'd prove it. The marble floor gleamed under my heels, each click a pulse of anticipation as I approached Boardroom 3B. Through the glass, Mason and Delia lounged, their designer outfits screaming confidence, oblivious to the storm about to break. Elena, poised by the door, gave me a knowing nod. Shall I announce you? She asked, her voice soft but steady. Yes, I replied, smoothing my jacket. Let's begin. The live feed had shown their latest jab mocking my fabricated resume, San Jose State credentials they sneered at. Unaware it was mine, crafted to draw out their contempt, their words had steeled me, not stung. Elena opened the door, her tone crisp. Mr. Rao and Miss Barrett. Allow me to introduce E. Harper, CEO of Cloud Ridge Systems. I stepped inside, the air shifting as if the room held its breath. Mason's smirk froze. Delia's eyes widened. And for 12 delicious seconds, silence reigned. Hello, Mason. Delia? I said, my voice deliberate, echoing Angela's old, cutting cadence. Shall we discuss the future of Barrett Enterprises? Mason's jaw slackened, disbelief cracking his composure. Delia choked out, Evelyn, is this a joke? I set my folders at the head of the table, claiming the chair that once was their father's. No joke, I said, a measured smile curling my lips, though your resume comments were entertaining. Mason found his voice brittle and strained. You can't be E. Harper. You're nothing. I arched an eyebrow. Unflinching. Nothing. Just someone who built a company while you squandered your inheritance. I opened a folder. The pages crisp under my fingers. To the terms, Cloud Ridge Systems acquires Barrett Enterprises for $2.4 billion. Select divisions integrate into our ecosystem. Executive leadership restructures. Effective today. Delia slammed her hand on the table, her bracelet clinking. You lied. Hid behind a fake name. I met her gaze. Steady. I protected my work. I built something real. Not handed to me. Substance wins. Delia. Their faces flushed. Cornered betrayed the weight of their miscalculation. Mom will hear about this. Mason muttered. Fists clenched. I cut in smoothly. The board already signed. Angela included. She just didn't know whose deal she endorsed. A slow smile spread across my face. I'm eager to see her reaction. 2. Delia's voice tightened. Desperate. What do you want from us? I leaned back. Calm as stone. I have it. Ownership. Control. Legacy. I slid 2 documents across the table. These are your new roles. Mason. Assistant Director of Client Relations. Delia. Junior Project Coordinator. Reduced salaries. But you'll enjoy the employee wellness package you once mocked. Delia's jaw dropped. This is insane. We won't accept. I kept my tone even. Unyielding. Your choice. But your non-compete clauses are active. And with Barrett Enterprises absorbed, opportunities are scarce. Mason slumped. Eyes unfocused. You've planned this forever. Haven't you? I shook my head. Voice quiet but firm. Not planned, worked. While you coasted, I built. Now you get a choice I never had. I stood, gathering my folders. The weight of years lifting with each motion. Decide by 9 upon a.m. tomorrow. Accept. And HR onboards you. Decline. And security escorts you out. I turned to leave. But Delia's voice, brittle, stopped me. What about Mom? What's your plan for her? I paused. Glancing over my shoulder, Angela made her choices years ago. She'll face the consequences. I nodded to Elena, who stood sentinel by the door. Ensure the next meeting's ready. The glass walls of 3B reflected Mason and Delia's stunned faces as I walked away, the city's pulse beyond the windows matching my own. Angela's boardroom awaited, and with it, the final unmasking. The elevator hummed, carrying me to the top-floor conference suite where Angela Barrett waited. Her empire teetering on the edge of my design, the glass doors parted, revealing a panoramic view of San Francisco Bay, its waters glinting like a promise. Angela sat at the center of the boardroom table, radiant in a tailored blazer. Her posture, a study in control. The other board members murmured, their anticipation palpable, expecting E. Harper's grand entrance. I paused, savoring the moment, then stepped forward. My heels a deliberate cadence on the hardwood. Good afternoon, I said, my eyes locking on Angela's. I'm E. Harper, CEO of Cloud Ridge Systems, though some of you may know me as Evelyn Harper. The room stilled. A collective intake of breath. Angela's flawless mask cracked, her lips parting as recognition dawned. I held her gaze, unflinching, as I took the head of the table. Let's discuss Barrett Enterprises' future, I began, my voice steady, authoritative. I laid out Cloud Ridge's vision modernization of their creaking systems, integration into our cloud ecosystem, and a leadership model rooted in merit and equity. Each word dismantled Angela's legacy of elitism, her policies that favored profit over people. The board listened, some nodding, others glancing at Angela, whose fingers tightened around her pen, betraying her composure. I projected a slide, detailing employee-focused platforms that would boost retention and innovation ideas she'd once dismissed as naive. This isn't just a buyout, I said, addressing the room but speaking to her. It's a transformation. Barrett Enterprises will lead in socially driven tech, not lag behind in scandals. Angela's eyes narrowed, but she remained silent, her usual command absent. When the presentation ended, board members filed out, their murmurs now of cautious optimism. Angela rose to follow, but I stopped her at the door. A moment. Angela, she turned, her movement slow, deliberate. For the first time, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in her steely gaze, how she asked, her voice low, almost a whisper. I leaned against the table, the baize light framing me. How did I outmaneuver you? I worked, while you built walls. I forged paths. Her silence was an admission, and I pressed on. This isn't vengeance, it's justice. Success isn't a birthright, it's earned. With purpose. She flinched, a subtle shift. But I saw it. What now? She asked, her tone brittle. You erase me. I shook my head. I improve what you neglected. Barrett Enterprises becomes a Cloud Ridge division. Focused on impact, you keep a board seat, but your voting powers curtailed. A lesson in humility. Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. As she turned to leave, I added, oh, and Angela, Sunday dinner. I'll be there. The words landed like a claim, a reclamation of the family she'd pushed me from. She walked out, her silhouette stark against the glass, and I felt the weight of years dissolve. The bay sparkled, a mirror to my resolve. As I prepared to reshape her world, a year later, I sat in my corner office. The San Francisco skyline a tapestry of steel and light. Barrett Enterprises, now a thriving Cloud Ridge division, had posted a 42% profit surge, driven by the employee-centric platforms I'd championed. The quarterly report glowed on my screen, but my thoughts drifted to the journey, how I'd turned exclusion into empowerment. Elena's voice crackled through the intercom. Miss Harper, your step-siblings are here for their review. I nodded, glancing at the bay. Its calm a reflection of the peace I'd found. Mason and Delia entered, their once flashy attire replaced by understated professionalism. No smirks, just quiet focus, shaped by a year of real work. Sit, I said, gesturing to the chairs. We reviewed their progress. Mason, now adept at listening to clients, had closed 3 major deals. Delia, thriving in project coordination, had streamlined a key initiative. Their growth mirrored the company's proof that accountability could spark change. Angela, a minor shareholder, sat in board meetings now, her silence laced with reluctant respect, her old dominance a memory. The media spun my takeover as a vendetta, but I saw it as restoration. Barrett's employees, once overlooked, now drove innovation. Their voices heard. I thought of my father, his belief that true success lifts others. I hadn't crushed the Barretts. I'd rebuilt them, and us, into something greater. You've exceeded expectations, I told Mason and Delia, my tone warm but firm. They nodded, a flicker of gratitude in their eyes, and left. I turned to the window, the city pulsing below. My victory wasn't in outsmarting Angela or humbling her children, it was in proving Merit forges legacy. To anyone underestimated, dismissed by those who should uplift you. Know this, your worth isn't their verdict. It's built in your choices. Your quiet resolve. I built Cloud Ridge to show that determination outshines entitlement. If you're carving your path, keep going. Share your story below. And let's inspire each other. The view from here, earned through grit, is worth every step. As I stood on the balcony of my San Francisco office, the bay shimmering under a late afternoon haze, I traced the arc of my journey, not just the boardroom victories or the signatures that bound Barrett Enterprises to Cloud Ridge systems, but the quiet truth that had crystallized in the aftermath. The lesson wasn't in outmaneuvering my stepfamily, though their stunned faces still lingered like a painting in my mind. It was in understanding that true power lies not in proving others wrong, but in proving yourself right. Every line of code I'd written, every sleepless night spent refining Cloud Ridge's vision, had been a choice to build rather than destroy. I'd thought success would feel like a sword, sharp and final, cutting through years of dismissal. Instead, it felt like a bridge, spanning the chasm between who I'd been and who I'd become. My father's words, resilience over inheritance, had guided me, but I'd learned they meant more than outworking my detractors. They meant trusting my purpose, even when it stood alone. The Barretts had measured worth by titles and lineage. Their empire, a hollow monument to privilege. I'd built mine on belief, on systems that lifted employees, not just profits. That choice, I realized, was my legacy's foundation. Watching the city pulse below, I saw my reflection in the glass, not the teenager they'd ignored, but a woman who'd learned that vindication is fleeting, while impact endures. The real triumph wasn't their defeat. It was the thousands of workers now empowered by Cloud Ridge's platforms. The clients who trusted us because we valued substance over flash. I'd spent years chasing justice, but found peace in creation. The lesson settled deep. A compass for the road ahead. Success isn't about settling scores, but about building something so true it reshapes the world around it. That truth, more than any deal or demotion, was my victory.